What do I say? I say it's a lot better to go ahead and get one poke in the arm to be protected for all these different kinds of things and not have to get sick with them and not have to deal with the sequela or the long-term effects that can happen from them. So I'm fully in favor of the vaccine schedule we have. I know it hurts. It's not fun. I don't like to give kids immunizations, but it's important. And I really would rather these kids get these immunizations and in the correct schedule as they are set up. There's a reason we have them set up in the way they are with initial immunizations and the boosters, so that you don't have to give a kid an immunization every week for the first 2 years of their life. So if you can just go ahead and go with the plan that the American Academy of Family Practice and the American Academy of Pediatrics has set out for you, then I think you're really going to be on a great path for your kids to be healthy and strong.
It's worth mentioning also that this mercury-based preservative, thimerosal, is no longer put in children's vaccines. People were concerned that this could lead to eventual mercury poisoning in children.
Right. Exactly. In the beginning, this thimerosal which is a mercury-based preservative, was used in these vaccines, again, as a preservative. So it would be safe that when you had this vaccine in a multi-dose vial, that every time you pulled the vaccine out of that multi-dose vial, it would be safe because it had this type of preservative. And when this study and other very weak studies came out with a correlation, not even a true connection of this kind of preservative to autism and honestly other things, it was thought that the best thing to do was to evaluate that thimerosal as the problem. And even though we couldn't find any direct connection of this ingredient to autism or any other illnesses or problems, it was still pulled out of children's vaccines just in case. So the only vaccine that actually has a little tiny bit of thimerosal in it is the influenza vaccine. And honestly, I don't know exactly the reason why. It probably has something to do with it being the best preservative for that particular vaccine, but it's in a very small amount. But other children's vaccines don't even have it anymore. So you don't even have a reason to connect those vaccines with autism because of thimerosal, because it's not even there anymore.
Okay, well, autism. What do you think it is? Because before we started tonight, you said you think it's genetic. A new study was women over 40. As we were talking earlier, men.
Dads over 40 too?
Anybody,
it said, okay,
as you
okay,
get older,
okay.
the risk is higher.
It is.
Yeah.
Then why do you think just people needed something to blame? Do you think that's just it?
Yeah.
Do you think he needed something? Because we also talked during the break that there's a little bit of money involved in that too with Wakefield.
Right. Dr. Wakefield had a patent on a new kind of MMR vaccine that was in development.
No, I didn't even hear about that.
There
was some lawsuit going on that he was connected with too, is what I knew about.
There were only 12 kids in this study to begin with.
Oh, it's a
and
tiny
at a
involved in a
birthday
lawsuit.
party at his house.
I mean, it was an awfully set up study. And when you talk about trying to extrapolate what would affect millions of children, millions of vaccines out of what was connected with 12 children in this one localized area, I mean, it's incredible to think that we would even think that you could say that that's true for an entire population.
But guess what? We did think.
Yeah, I know. And a lot of people went off on their own direction of thinking. So, and autism it's a really terrible, sad situation. And you can have an autistic child who is a beautiful, wonderful child, no matter what, but it is tough. Sometimes they're nonverbal. They are they're emotionally very different, sometimes very cold. They won't interact with their families in the same way other children do. It's very hard for a family who loves that child to be able to interact with an autistic child. They also will express themselves in different ways. They need to do things like sometimes hurt themselves because that makes them feel better. So it's a kind of thing that we as loving, emotional humans don't understand very well. And of course that's going to be a hard, difficult thing for any family to endure. And so of course they want to find a reason. They want to find something to blame, someone to blame, something that can be their cause so they can feel better about what happened to their child. And I think that's how this came about.
More with Dr. Katrina Miller and your questions and our answers when we come back. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Healthline. I'm Suzanne Watley along with Greg Rizarian, and our guest this evening, Dr. Katrina Miller, is a family medicine doctor and she's also an assistant professor at the Keck School of Medicine. And right here in the city of Glendale, did you know that we have our very own teaching hospital? It is Glendale Adventist Medical Center, and the curriculum director of the Family Medicine Residency Program is our guest, Dr. Miller. Tell us about your responsibilities and how you're helping develop family medicine doctors for the future.
Well, that's what we're doing. We have a 3-year family medicine training program, and we work obviously at Glendale Adventist Hospital, which is great because we're actually what's called an unopposed residency, meaning that the family medicine residents who are there don't have to compete with other residents like internal medicine programs or pediatrics programs to get those patients so they can get their training. So it's great that we really have the run of the hospital for our residents to be able to have as much experience as they can with the patients that come into the hospital. And I have to say that our interaction with the hospital is just great. They help us out in terms of making sure that the residents get the experience they need, in terms of the fact that they actually pay our residents. So all these kinds of things really make it happen, and Glendale Adventist is a great hospital to work with for all of those reasons.
How long has this program been around?
Our program's been around since the late 70s, I believe. I would have to look into exactly the date, but it's been around a lot longer than I've been there. So, but it's a very sturdy program. We've been around for a long time, very solid in terms of all the aspects of any family medicine residency. And as curriculum director, I'm the one responsible for making sure that the curriculum stays up to date, as according to the ACGME, which is the entity that makes sure that we're doing the right things for training family medicine residents. So we're always making changes, trying to find out what we need to do in terms of getting them the experience in internal medicine, obstetrics and gynecology, pediatrics, subspecialties like gastroenterology, urology, ear, nose, and throat medicine, so we can make sure they get the full spectrum of training. So after that 3 years, they are able to go out and be independent clinicians in family medicine.
Are you like a proud parent when you
Oh,
see
yeah.
your residents
Definitely.
go off?
It's amazing, and of course, time goes so quickly when you're with them, and they come in and they don't know where they are the first day they're there, and you help direct them with what's going on, and so quickly they're already graduating and moving on to their own careers, and they're already so independent and so strong, and of course it makes me proud to see them moving on.
And
I
you're
love
like
it.
this. I trained them.
Yeah, I have a little something to do. I helped.
Seriously though, are you concerned about the future of family medicine? Because we are hearing so much about how new doctors are being steered or are steering themselves into specialties and going away from this idea of being generalists.
It's true. It's true. And it's something to be concerned about. I'm not really worried about it because I know there will always be people like me who want to be as much a part of a patient's life and their family as they can be. Someone who wants to take care of all different kinds of things and wants to have control over the whole situation and try to manage the whole situation for the patient. Someone who's not necessarily going to want to do one thing all day, every day. There's always going to be people like that. And beyond that, of course, we have to deal with the pressures of possibly people getting paid more in some kind of subspecialty, and maybe even having a little bit of an easier life because they can focus on just one thing. But again, the excitement in family medicine is there. There's all kinds of things you can do with the career. You can tailor your career to what you want to, in the sense that I'm seeing patients, I'm also teaching, I'm doing so many other different things. And so there's always going to be people who want to do that. Also, I think as we have more help from electronics, I think it's going to become easier and easier for primary care physicians to do what they need to do. I think we're going to have more and more help from electronic medical records, from things like e-visits and electronic portals where the patient can submit information and find information. So all the things that we used to do verbally or through paper can really be done a lot easier and a lot faster through electronics. And I think that's going to make primary care much easier. And also, as we have the government actually seeing the value of primary care, I think that'll really start helping too.